All right. Hunter, Scott, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, Agency Break-In Edition. This time, I'm actually not recording in the Martin Agency. I'm back in New York City in the content cave here. Everybody was saying such amazing things about you while I was there, so I'm glad that we can find this random time a week later while we're producing all the other content. So this will be a lot of fun. Hunter, we're here. A part of the agency break-in is to understand what it's like to work at the Martin Agency, who's there, the type of work that you guys create. It was a really great deep dive when I was there in person, but now I want to talk with you as you are a creative, a strategy, and a production recruiter at the Martin Agency. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. I want to talk with you about how do you attract people to the Martin Agency? What do you look for in the creative track when you're hiring the people that make the culture? So that's like kind of my goal with this podcast.
I love it. Yeah, I have the privilege and honor of being a recruiter at Martin. I don't even know where to start. I feel like it's such a fun job. I think sometimes people, when they think about recruiters, maybe they think about someone who is like working at a call center and they're like talking on the phone a lot. And I can be a gabber, but I'm more of a researcher. And yeah, I will like get on the internet and learn everything about someone and get into a dark hole and want to know every single piece of work they have worked on or what their side hustle is. I often find people through really weird back channels. I love to like reverse stalk old famous creatives, but also reverse stalk new little baby creatives who I'm really, really, really excited by and see who folks are connected to. And yeah, it's such a fun job. People are so interesting. And
Sure.
I have the privilege of getting to hear people's stories and also get to find them in really pivotal moments of their life where they're choosing to stay at an agency or come or not. There's people who I talk to all the time who I've never hired for years and years. And yeah, it's just a real gift to get to know people.
Heck yeah. So my question now is, how long have you been at the Martin Agency and what roles specifically are you recruiting for?
Yeah, I have been at the agency for, oh my gosh, almost 4 years, which feels kind of insane. But I am currently recruiting for an ACD art director in New York.
Oh, we're talking right now.
Oh yeah. I was like, just wondering right now. I was like, this is a great time. I'm like, yes,
Okay,
hi.
yeah. Let's
if
do
you're
this.
an ACD art director in New York, like call me. But yeah, I mainly work on creative roles. It's kind of where it started. I think I'm decent at my job because I was never trained in being a recruiter. I'm often told that I don't function the way a normal recruiter functions, but I think that's genuinely just because no one ever really hardcore taught me how to do the job. But I think that was probably for the best. I just love people and love getting to know them and tend to be highly curious. I just, love meeting people, but also I'm looking for people who have a point of view. I'm looking for whether you're a creative, a strategist, or a producer, anything in between. And I'm loving seeing more people who are hybrid, who maybe they're a really strong writer, but they also think they might want to be a strategist or vice versa. I think that the more and more that you can use your brain in multiple ways is beautiful. I don't think everything needs to be like, I was an art director and then I'm going to do that till I become a creative director forever, ever, amen. I don't think that has to be the way.
Sure.
So yeah, if you have a weird resume or you've changed jobs a bunch or you freelanced and then you tried something and came back, I care more about, people having a point of view than I care about having the same point of view as you. I want you to believe in what you say more than it be like a right answer or, something
Totally.
like that. But
totally. A strong perspective. I like that.
Yes.
And I guess like when you're talking with somebody that, somebody that you really want to hire, let's say it's Gino in this situation. That would probably never happen. But what are you going to say about like the culture of the Martin Agency? How are you going to, not that they need convincing, but if there needed to be some sort of facts that you put out there, what are you telling me in this situation to get to the Martin Agency?
Then I would start by really wanting to understand what you value. I don't have the same pitch that I use for everyone all the time. because I don't think culture is like a can that is like the same every time. I think that there are deep things that are like rooted that are similar. But I would want to find out what you value and what you love most. And then kind of speak to those things in a way that feels authentic to us. I think there are ways that and values that even different teams do better. I think that although, I think everyone at Martin has a ton of heart, and I think everyone at Martin genuinely cares about each other. It's a little bit scary if you've worked at other agencies that are, yeah, this is an intense industry. And sometimes I think that when folks come here, they're like, oh, this can't actually be real. And I even experienced that. I was like backing people into hallways when I'd been here for 6 months, being like, is this get out? Like, no, but like, what's the secret? Legitimately. And people would like laugh at me and they were like, oh, wow, this girl, like, okay. Ooh. But I think that, yeah, I would try to figure out what it looks like for you as Gino to live your full best self here. And if there are things that we could do to like be sure that whatever you're looking for is set up to like actually be that thing and not be like some weird painted on version of that thing to get you into a job.
Totally.
Yeah. I know
So, I mean,
it's like a vague,
yeah,
answer, but
this is interesting because like you are that first point of contact, right? Like
yeah,
usually speaking, like you are, you know, representing the Martin agency and trying to add to that culture of those people and identifying who works well.
totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because it matters it matters a ton to us that we get the right person for us, but it also matters to me a ton that it's the right move for the right person at the right time.
Right.
It's not just like a peg in a hole, like it's someone's whole life.
Right.
Often,
Yeah.
and not like that's your job should be your whole life, but like if I'm asking you to move across the country or just it's a risk. It's a really, until there's a volatile industry. Like it's scary to ask someone to change.
Right. Is it true that you're pretty involved in the Marty program? If so, what is it?
Yeah.
How has it evolved?
Yeah,
Give us the rundown here, high level, what this looks like.
totally. Yeah. So our Marty program is basically our summer internship program. When I first came in, I was just in charge of helping pick a few creatives, like 4. And then from there, it kind of grew and grew. I've had 3 full summers. And then this past year, I was kind of running it soup to nuts. And we really do try for it to be an experience where you're going to be working really as a full-on junior, and no matter what role you're in, and whether you're an account person or whether you're a creative team, we really want you to be contributing and running and doing real work that you can put in your book if I can't hire you. So yeah, it's like such a wild and weird journey of finding everyone. But it's been an incredible process. As part of the summer, I would say 90% of your work is real client work. And then the other 10% is you're going to design your own like merch line. You're going to design a week of you guys being in Richmond. We flew everyone in and got to host all sorts of fun, like dinners and activations and a party. And they got to design all of that around a concept and tell me how they wanted to bring it to life. And then we got to be like, okay, let's buy the disco balls. Let's book the venue. Let's do the thing. And that's been so fun. Because, we
Nice.
want people to celebrate in a way that feels like them. And then another big part of it is I'm a little bit biased. I feel like I bring in the people at the agency who I love, all the way from folks who are 1 year older and were part of Marty last year to folks who are on the C-suite, to share about their experience and what they bring. It's important that every department gets the chance to like hear from other departments, and then from there at every level, because like what someone at the very top of a department does to someone at the very bottom is really different. And I think I don't want kids to come in and hear C-suite level people talk about like super theoretical, like big picture shit. And while that's very exciting and beautiful and like I love it all too, I want someone who's at 1 year, 3 year, 5 years in to be able to like look up a track and see where they're headed.
Right.
In a realistic way too, right? Like I don't want someone to think that a year in they're going to be like running half the team and it's going to be like a whole thing. Like I want someone to have realistic expectations about like what working in this business actually is day to day, while also having kind of like the cheat code of like how to get ahead or how to like get the most out of an experience with a client that, is incredible and a client that's more difficult. So I think that that's all stuff that those folks come in and share. And and it's led by the interns. The intern prep questions, I give them a stock of like, this is who this person is and what they've done and where they've come from and what they've built. Like, you have to bring a good question. That's their homework. And then the kids come in and ask the questions. So all of them are led by them.
Training them to be journalists too, podcasters.
Yeah. Trying to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I heard, when I was in Richmond and at the agency, I heard a couple people mention that there's some swag around the Marty folks that are hired full time. About it takes there's a badge there of there's pride around that, and there's a lot of respect. People respect the Marty interns that make it and get hired. I think that's really cool too.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's so fun. I feel like I'm so close to it sometimes that I'm like, I want to hire all of them and this is so great. And our poor CFO hides from me. I was basically following her into the parking garage at night for months on end, being like, let's hire everyone. But I was really excited that we got to hire a big bunch of our last batch.
Yeah. And can we talk about a normal cohort on average since you started? What are the usual numbers that you're hiring?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
not hiring, putting on as interns.
Yeah. This past summer, we had 6 creatives. So 3 creative teams, architecture, copywriter, traditional pairs. We had 2 designers. The past year before that, we've had 3 designers. So it kind of depends, usually a cohort of designers. And then strategist, usually we've had anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on the year. We've also had a comm strategist this year, which really try to use it at, where do we need help in the agency and where we're looking to hire to.
Yeah.
So we really do try to customize it every year. But so this year production was busy and had a bunch of stuff and didn't need a bunch of junior help. So we didn't have a producer this year, but we have in the past. We had 2 account girls who were awesome. And yeah, I think that's everyone. But it ends up being somewhere between 11 to 15, as many as 17 or 18 sometimes. Sometimes, I find a random kid on Twitter that I'm like, hi, we have to hire you, and then slam in the last minute type shit. So it just kind of depends. But somewhere in that bunch.
No, that's great context. I think people need to hear that to understand the sheer volume of applications I'm sure you're receiving, and that puts that context. It's super helpful. So you kind of alluded to it, somebody potentially on X or Twitter that is funny, that caught your eye. What are these qualities that you're looking for, or what are the standout qualities in candidates that you've seen, traits that you've seen?
Yeah. I really, really, really look for, especially when folks are young, one, there's just no shortcut, no matter if you're young or if you're more senior, to true authenticity. I want someone who wears their own self well and is comfortable with who they are. And you don't have to have every single thing figured out, and you don't have to have the right answer, and you don't have to know what you want to do. You don't have to know every single thing about advertising. I don't need you to be the very best Photoshopper that has ever existed. I don't need you to be funnier than a writer in SNL. I just need you to be yourself, because I believe that is when it's going to unlock true creativity. And it sounds kitschy and kind of bullshitty, but it's true. And I'm looking for someone who knows who they are and knows how to harness that. So maybe it's, I don't know, lean into whatever is weird or special about you. And everything from there was a kid this past year who, is just very, very, very funny, but loves to build experiences. And part of his book that was super non-traditional was a made up rat gallery in New York City. And it wasn't attached to and this is what we're going to sell, and this is the platform idea, and this is the thing. But it was here's all the ways a weird rat gallery could live. And it was super weird and super offbeat, but really funny and just incredible. And I think the weirder you can be, but in a way that is authentic to you, and know what you like, know why you like it, I would say, as far as work goes, so that when I do talk to you on the phone, you have some idea of the type of stuff that makes you excited. Yeah.
Got it. I love it. That authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what I would put in my portfolio. That's weird. I'll get back to you. I don't have one.
I can't wait to see it,
Yeah,
it'll be
I
great
guess
no matter what it is.
I bet it would be just like all the interviews, the 330 people that I've talked to.
It's incredible. I love it.
I don't know if that would be for creative though. Maybe strategists.
I don't know. It depends. I think that depends on if you're asking good questions and pivoting a room, that's pretty creative.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think it counts.
There we go. Okay. So we got through kind of like the junior portion. I want to know about like how you approach for like our more experienced listeners on the mid to senior level creatives. Can you share what you look for in those professionals, or is it along the same advice, or is there more elements of craft and real work
Totally.
versus spec work? Can we dive into that mid level role and what you're specifically
Yeah,
looking for?
totally. I would say, yeah, especially for folks who are that mid to senior tier, I would say definitely looking once you've been in a few years, definitely looking to step away from spec work being in your book. Um, However, I think that you can think about like a side hustle or a side project as your kind of like grown up spec work. And figure out if you do want to like pivot into a new thing, a new space, you can use a side hustle to like do that. But yeah, looking for work that, you know, is along the lines of kind of what we're hoping to make. I know that feels so vague, but like if I'm looking for Geico, I want to see that you have a sense of humor and that you are funny. You know what I mean? So it kind of depends on what I'm looking for because it's so different depending on if I'm looking for someone who's going to make like deep, feely, thoughtful things for UPS versus someone who is working on Geico. But I would say across the board, no one I've ever hired who is incredible had a shitty about me. So I tend to go to the about me first and read what people have written about themselves up there. I would say if you're someone who's reaching out to me, I'm literally getting like 60 LinkedIn messages a day that are like, hi, I want to work at the Martin Agency. Bye. Um, Please don't write me that. Please, you can like literally like send me a picture of a donut. People have like put my picture into AI and been like, this is who you are mid journey as like a crossover between you and like insert weird thing. People have photoshopped themselves into my Instagram photos. Like people have done really weird shit. And I remember weird things.
Yeah.
Please don't email me and tell me you want to work at the Martin Agency. Like, I hope if you're emailing anyone asking for a job or interested in a job that you want to work there, know why. And yeah, I think that would be my biggest like reach out
Yeah.
piece of
So,
advice is just
so, so for the mid level, then it's going to be a little bit more tailored about your real work that you've made
yeah,
that's going to match with the type of work that you're looking for uh,
yeah,
at the agency. This makes sense. But for junior,
yeah. And so I'm
for
just curious. I think curiosity is really like such a big, again, it feels so like, yeah, duh, but like, no, but like true curiosity. Like when I say something and someone, instead of being like, huh, interesting, or if they disagree or something, I don't know, or if they really agree, like say more about that. And like one like wants to know. I think someone who's leaning in, um, yeah, I don't know. I think curiosity is like also a big key.
so would you say it's true then for the junior, maybe it's their first job. So you were saying being authentic, that shines through. You can tell that they're their authentic self. It's shown in their work potentially and their interests. They're able to have these real conversations. They might know a little bit about advertising, hopefully a little bit, something there and
Yeah.
some of the basics. But for the mid-level, it's about
Yeah,
some of that real work that they produce.
for sure. I think real work. And then also just,
That
I think
curiosity.
and also just self-awareness.
Hmm.
I think that knowing what you want to work on and what you want to be better at is important. I don't expect people to be like, this is my biggest growth edge in the first time that I ever meet them. But I just hired a senior art director who I met for a coffee literally 2.5 years ago. And her book from what it was then to what it is now is actually insane. And the first time I met with her, I like was like, hey, shared some hard feedback about parts of her book that I thought could use work. And hiring her recently was so cool because her book is one of the most impressive baller. Like every CD that saw it immediately was like, she's it. So yeah, I think that, and also just if I do give you feedback on your book, one, it takes a lot of time. If I genuinely look at a book and think about it, it's going to take me like half an hour to an hour, depending on how thick of a book it is, and to like really put my thoughts down and to really be thoughtful. So being like, hey, can you look at my book? Thanks, bye. You're like asking for an hour of my time. So just like also being mindful of, I want to be as generous as I can, but I'm just one person and like 60 people a day are like, hey, great. And I'm like, yes, okay, yes. Um, but if I do spend the time to like have a call with someone or give them feedback, and then I see that they have like overhauled their site in 6 months, that matters. And we're, if you're like, hey, I'm looking to do this type of work, and want someone to review my book, and it might not be you, but who else? I'm always happy to like make connections too. I do lots
That's
of
nice.
introductions.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm always happy to just be kind of a revolving door of helping people meet the people they should meet too,
Love
if
that.
that's helpful.
Yeah. And to the listeners, I get a lot of questions about like, can you review my portfolio? I'm not a creative. So I tend to flip it to some recruiters that I do know, or some folks that I know from past podcast episodes, like actual review the creative work, but just like getting that disclaimer out there to everybody. I could definitely make the connections.
I'm like, so email all of your books to Gino immediately.
No,
Thanks.
no, no, no. I could probably get. I
You
could
would be great.
recognize
It
a
would be
camp.
great.
I know I recognize a
It's about
campaign.
having a point of view. Gino, you have
Oh
a point of
yeah.
view. Come on.
Oh yes, I do. I have not shown that, but I like. Wait, what's your favorite coffee brand? We were
Mm,
just having this discussion with my roommate and
definitely
co-founder.
something local,
No,
probably.
no, it's got to be a chain. Got to be a chain.
Okay, if I pick a chain, I'm going Starbucks. It's basic, but it's good. Like it's what
Yeah,
if I'm in an airport, that's what I'm doing.
yeah. Mine is. That's what Jax is, the co-founder. He was at Richmond
I can
with
hear
me.
the judgment in your voice. Do you know, what are you, a Dunkin' guy? What's your
No,
deal?
I love Starbucks. Or sorry, I love 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven coffee.
Yeah. That is dark, but like wholesome.
And I always, if I were to do a campaign, it would be to sell 7-Eleven coffee, or make a campaign for 7-Eleven coffee.
It's incredible. Well, you should become, I don't know if you ever got to talk to Ken Marcus while you were here last week, but
Mm-mm.
he's an incredible writer. He's basically written like almost any popular Geico spot in the last 10 years is
Oh yeah.
mostly Ken's writing. But he loves a 7-Eleven cup of coffee. So if any young writers out there want to meet Ken Marcus, you should email him and be like, can I buy you a 7-Eleven coffee on Zoom or whatever? He would like totally do it.
Now we're talking.
He's the only other person I know who likes 7-Eleven. So maybe there's something to it.
Boom. Now we're talking. I don't know how we got there, but I want to bring it back here. A couple more questions. I just want to know then, I guess, like, how does the advice that you mentioned in this episode, how might this differ from other creative recruiters? And what's the Martin Agency's like specific approach, or is there a secret sauce to finding talent, attracting talent? Do you do anything differently that we haven't mentioned, or is it about that authenticity that you've been hammering on?
I think, yeah, I think it's a mix between authenticity. I think it's a mix between like wisely garnering relationships. I've been able to make some of the best hires of my career because I treated someone good in a recruitment process who didn't accept a job, but then kept in touch with me, and we talked every, once a quarter or something. And then 2 years later, they emailed me one of their best friends, books, and said, hey, so-and-so is like really wants to get a new job. Could you meet with them, etc. I feel like I've gotten to make some really pivotal hires and moments for the agency when things have been hard because the devil's in the details. I was honest and took care of people and did the best I could, in the day to day of my job. And then it's always, panned out. I think it's a really, it's a long game in this business and in recruitment. I think that, yeah, I think the thing that I always think about when I meet with a candidate is that I literally, even when I'm really, really, really busy and it pings and the world we live in that's so distracting and that is so all over the place, I will take 3 deep breaths and I will pretend I work at Monsters Inc. and I picture the doors coming off like the thing and a door comes down in front of me. And I think if I have 45 minutes with this person, I might never talk to them again, or I might hire them and they might be like the most pivotal hire I ever make. I don't know. And I always think about, I'm only seeing the inside of someone's room. I cannot see their whole world. And I think that I think it's super important that creative recruiters and every hiring manager keep at top of mind that we don't know everything about everyone. And if you have a feeling that you should like ask another clarifying question, or if something, I don't know, I think that it's really easy in the business of shiny, flashy to write people off. And that is, it's tempting, but I also think, I don't know, coming back to I can't see their whole world. I just get 45 minutes or I just get an hour with someone, has been a helpful way for me to be aware of my own biases, because I know that I'm as biased as anybody else. So me being like, okay, being aware of my own blind spots as a recruiter, wanting to think deeply about diversity and equity, and wanting to really lean into what do we need, and if something doesn't sit right with me asking myself, like, why is that? Is that picking something in me, or is it something about this person? I think that the most shallow, I always know that I'm not actually listening if I'm moving to judgment fast. I think one of the markers of not actually listening is moving to judgment fast. But I think if you're really listening to someone, and I can picture, okay, I don't know this person's whole world, but I do get the gift of seeing someone. Am I willing to listen and lean in? And I think that is a real marker of difference, of like the devil being in the details of like listening to someone, because people in some ways, for better and for worse, will give away in them talking about themselves really good things and also things that are not as great. So if you're really willing to listen, but also willing to be I try to be self-aware, but also self-aware with hiring managers. I think that there's times where I have to ask my hiring manager, like, I know you said you didn't like that person. Like, why didn't you like that person? And really drilling into like why someone is and isn't landing in a role. And also the types of people who get jobs over and over ultimately are what the agency is saying is excellent. And we need to, I think, be mindful of like, what do I believe is excellent? And am I willing to rethink of what excellent can present like, can look like, feels like, especially as I think the industry continues to become more diverse and become just more welcoming to people who didn't, when they like woke up when they were 18, decide they want to make ads. I think that our world will continue to grow and get bigger. But I'm pretend I work at Monsters Inc. and I think that helps me sometimes.
I love that. That is incredible. I'm going to try to do that too when I talk with people and podcast with them. So, great advice. I want to get into now then about the job search process, maybe any advice you might have to our listeners, because it's tough out there. We know it's a competitive industry. I guess, what advice do you have for candidates, to stay resilient and motivated, as they're looking? Maybe you've learned from some candidates that you've interviewed that have been searching for a while. I don't know where you're getting these insights from, but would appreciate any.
Yeah. I would say, one, I just want to validate that it's really tough out there. Like, if it feels hard, you're not making it up. You're not bad. You're probably really hardworking and a smart person. I think this is an industry that I think, I think there's less and less junior roles of just like physical roles and positions that are opening comparatively to what they used to be. And that's hard. And I want to just validate that it is actually as hard as it feels. I think that that's skipped over a lot. So that's just like worth saying. I would say, think about how you reach out. I'm a person, just like you're a person. You do not have to write me like a very corporate, like buttoned up whole thing. I so much would prefer a quick hit. Hey, would love to, like, here's a picture. Here's a weird thing that I made. If you read my LinkedIn bio, it makes a joke about like how I want to know about your grandma. My favorite thing is when people send me hi, just like really funny LinkedIn messages about their grandmas because I know they actually like read my LinkedIn bio. And that's funny. And I'm like, oh, she sounds amazing. This is so great. And then from there, like, hey, can you get on a call? Would love to, meet you briefly, whatever. I would just think about how you're reaching out to people. I would say if you like someone's work, just reach out to them and tell them why you like their work and have a point of view. Again, we're in the business of point of views. So stalk the internet. Like if you see, you're like running on a treadmill at the gym and you like see an ad that you like, or you're out on LinkedIn, you see something and you can't figure out, if you're a mid-level strategist, like who is the strategist on it, Google a bunch of shit in 15 minutes. I promise you, with some Googles and back searches and clicks here and there, like you will likely be able to figure it out. And then just reach out to that person. I think that is, everyone loves hearing, thank you, I'm so glad you liked my work. And it feels basic, but just like do some Googling, email people who've made great work, tell them why you like it, be honest. I think that stuff is huge. And yeah, just also embrace your weirdness in that too.
Love it. Love it. And before we wrap up, I know a lot of our listeners, we skew on the younger listener demographic as we're, called breaking and entering, and we've been helping people get their first job. So any final advice or notes around the Marty program, I guess, for those people when does the application come out, and what advice do you have for people to stand out in that application process? Save this question till the end. I knew that people might want to hear about that. So,
I love it.
The floor is yours.
Yeah. Love it. I would say applications are going to launch probably the first week of February. I can't promise you on February 1st. So please do not email me on February 1st if it is not live and you're going to be like, Hunter, I heard on a podcast that it was going to be February 1st. But I promise like the first week of February-ish, it'll be live. And then it's usually pretty simple as far as like, a basic resume, basic why you're interested, why this would be helpful for you. But there is an extra, like you can submit a link, you could submit a haiku, you could submit literally whatever you want. So yeah, think about the story that you want to tell. If you had like 3 minutes of my time, what you would want. Some people have like literally sent me a selfie video walking down the street. People have made really funny like metaphor videos. Someone made a music video. People have made like, all sorts of stuff. People have like mailed me physical stuff in the mail, all sorts of, things. But yeah, I would just say, yeah.
Is there a prompt for this just link of something?
It's a good question. I feel like in the past we've had different sort of ones every year, but there's basically one like plus up that you can submit. Truthfully, Marty literally ended less than a month ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should think about having a prompt and all the things. But net, there will be some extra way to plus up the bottom of your application. And most people who do that, at least, like I try to write everyone back. And there's not AI looking at all these things. And yeah, last year we had 1,200 applications. So just, 1,200 applications for like 15 spots or something is like kind of a lot. So
yeah,
I promise you, I'm trying to get back to you, and I don't use AI. I'm a real person, just me. So I'm reading and looking at every single thing, clicking on every single link. But yeah.
Well, that is a great insight. I'm sure people are pumped to hear that. They know what's going on. They learned a lot from you. So did I. So Hunter, I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for doing this virtually, and I hope to see you in Richmond in the near future.
Yeah, this is the best. Thanks for having me.
Cool beans. Thank you.